Good evening. This is Dr. Russell Robinson coming to you live from his home office. I hope everyone is doing well. Today's date is September 17th, 2015, and we are about to begin MSCM 1250 OL, OL1, and OL2 online, our live Google Hangouts. We are looking for our classmates to join us momentarily. So we're going to remain in a holding pattern as normal, and we will look for our students or our classmates to join us. So in the meantime, if you're out there watching on the outside and not want to participate, that's fine, it's cool. But we are right now waiting for everyone else to join us. And so we're going to give everyone about the customary 10 to 15 minutes, I guess, to join us. And then we will get started with our regular class session. Okay, I hope everyone's doing well, and we look forward to seeing you in about the next 10 to 15 minutes. In the meantime, what I am going to do is I'm going to get myself prepared. I'm going to bring up some important documents, some URLs. One of the things I think we're going to be talking about this evening certainly is, of course, the next presentation, the demonstration speech that will be due, I believe, sometime in October. I'm going to go back and double check our calendar and make sure we're on point with that. So again, bear with us as we are waiting for students to join us online. Donnie, how are you? This is Dr. Robinson. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, Penn. I'm hanging in there. What I'm doing right now is I'm just pulling up a copy of the syllabus to make sure that we're all on point with everything. We're going to also wait for a few of our other students to join us, and we should be with you shortly, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Hey y'all, I am
Let's see. We may need to go ahead and push that back a little bit. I think I should push that back a little bit to get some information because I'm a little concerned about that. Donnie, how's your experience been in the class thus far?
It's been good. I found some new talents, I guess.
That's always a good thing.
Oh yeah, and this PowerPoint thing is totally new to me, as opposed to all my kids who seem to know how to do that kind of stuff. So
Don't sweat the small stuff. I have a 9-year-old who wants to do PowerPoint presentations, so don't even worry about it. I understand completely. So it's about 7:08 now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start everything officially, possibly about 7:15. Is it okay?
That sounds good.
Okay. We have another person who's joined us. I believe that is, well, let's see who it is. That's Amal. Hi, Amal. How are you?
Good. How are you, Dr. Russell?
Doing fine. And my mom is Dr. Russell. Just call me Russell. I'm cool, okay?
Okay. All right. Hi, Donnie.
Hi, Mom. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good to finally meet you.
I think one of the things that I like about this is that it is at about 7 o'clock and we all can just be a little bit laid back but still go ahead and get our work done. That's the one thing I like about this type of class. So, by the way, Amal, again, you had one of the best presentations for the speech of introduction. Congratulations with that.
Thank you.
So what was it that gave you the upper hand on that? What was it that made you think what was it that gave you the edge? What made you give such a good job on that?
On the presentation,
Yes.
I guess it's practice, and I practiced a lot more before I taped.
Okay.
Yeah, and my son was patient enough to keep recording me. It took me like 30 times or more to get that presentation done.
That's one of the things I want to stress to everybody. I want to make sure that people knew that, you know, with that type of performance of that speech, it's really just an icebreaker, but again, still take it seriously. Practice, practice, practice. Donnie, how did you do on that?
I did okay. My wife and my daughter were helping record, and they were going thin on patience. As I kept asking to retake, you know.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. So the new speech that you all have planned, I'm sure that's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to see what people will be doing with their physical fitness activities. And people are always saying, Dr. Robinson, why do you make us do a physical fitness activity? I'm like, again, that's an icebreaker speech. And again, nothing too serious. Just go out there and make sure you master PowerPoint and have some fun with it. So
okay.
We'll see how that all shakes out. You all have your ideas for your topics yet?
No, not yet. I haven't had any ideas yet.
Donnie, what about you?
For the demonstration speech?
Yes.
Yes. Actually, I've been working on it a lot this week.
Okay.
And I'm trying to get the part of the video into the PowerPoint.
Right.
I can do it on my PC, but it doesn't work well on my Chromebook. So.
Oh, Chrome is not an easy one to work with.
Right.
Now,
so,
what exactly did you decide to do?
I decided the mechanics of a fast pitch softball swing because my daughter plays travel softball.
Oh, very good, very good. Now, have you had an opportunity to take a look at the demonstration speech outline tutorials or PowerPoint tutorials?
I have had those on my computer screen side by side as I was doing my PowerPoint.
Okay. So I'm sure you are probably inundated with PowerPoint tutorials.
Yes. 45 minutes worth 3 times. Yes.
Wow. And you do know there's like part 2 and part 3, right?
That's what I'm saying. 3 times. Yes, sir.
Oh, my God. Well, it should not be that painful. It'll be very fun. Amal, might as well get started. What do you think you want to do?
I don't know. I don't know.
We had some people who did fishing. We've had some people that did archery. We had some people that did bowling. We've had some people that do anything. As long as it's a fitness activity that you can demonstrate, I'm happy.
At the beginning, I had some wild ideas about the belly dancing, and then I said, no, I think it's a little too much for the class. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be different. It would be very different, but we'd all have a little fun with that. I mean, the main thing again is to make sure that we all get through this as painlessly as possible. It's
Okay.
class. It is not walking over hot coals. So, and let's see. I think we have another person who's joined. Samuel. Samuel Nordstrom has joined us. Samuel, are you there? I know it's hot. It's very hot. For some reason, it's like fall. Next thing you know, it's whatever.
Yeah.
Samuel, are you there? Samuel will join us, I'm sure. They'll join us, I'm sure. I'm going to go back into video mute for a moment, and then we'll be able to start in about the next 2 minutes, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Just
Hey, JR, keep it down, okay? I'm in a class, okay? Okay, I'm officially back, and we are now officially in session. Ding, ding. First of all, welcome back. I apologize for not being able to be at the session last week. For some strange, inexplicable reason, I was just no good. I was just tired. I was fatigued, and I apologize for that. And I apologize for not being able to meet with you immediately. I'm hoping that today's or tonight's session will be one that we can go ahead and get a lot of questions answered, and also get everyone off to a very good, strong start onto their demonstration speech, as well as their demonstration speech PowerPoint and outline. So what I want to first of all do is go back and do a quick recap of the syllabus and figure out where we all are, so we make sure that we're in good shape. I'm going to do a quick screen share, and as I do that screen share, we're going to then find out, take a look at where we are in the syllabus. Let me know if you can see it. If you can't see it, please let me know so I can make it bigger for everybody. Let's see. And of course, my computer is slow as molasses in the wintertime, but you should be able to see something quickly, or faster than this. So I'm going to go ahead and talk over it while we're waiting. Basically, right now, I heard someone sneeze, bless them. Right now, according to the main grid as far as assignment, due dates, and so forth, right now we are now looking at our demonstration speech. The tentative due date for that is October 4th. And as you can also see, we also have the accessories that must be accompanying that speech. Those accessories, of course, we know include the demonstration speech outline, which is tentatively due on the 20th, as well as the PowerPoint presentation, which too is due on the 20th. Now, I want to ask everyone a question to make sure we're on the same page. Where are you all with those as far as getting those in submitted on time? Do you think that you need more time with that, or are we good to go with that? What do you think? Let me know.
What's the date on the speech again? I can't see it.
The actual speech is due. The speech is due on October 4th.
Okay.
Okay, so that roughly right now, today is the 17th. So we're looking at having this done within about 4th. We're looking at having this done within about the next 2.5 weeks. Do you think the deadline is reasonable, or do you think we need to modify that?
I think it's reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maul, what did you say? What would you say?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Yeah,
okay,
what about the PowerPoint in the speech?
All right, and what about the accessory pieces that we have that are due as well? Now we have basically the outline. I'm going to go ahead and highlight that so we can all be sure we're on that same page. We have the outline as well as the PowerPoint. They are also due on September 20th. Today again is the 17th. Where are you all with that? Do you think that is unreasonable, or do you think we need to go ahead and modify that to give people a little extra time? What would you say?
I think I'm good for this. Is that this Sunday or next Sunday?
That's this Sunday.
It's this Sunday. Yeah, I think I'm good. I have the outline done. I just don't have the PowerPoint totally complete.
Okay, and Samuel, welcome to the group. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Doing great. Samuel, we're right now just going over some deadlines. Want to make sure that we are all okay with the deadlines right now. We're looking at a demonstration speech deadline of October 4th. So far, the consensus of those who are here, they said that the 4th is a reasonable deadline. We're also now looking as far as the accessory pieces with that. We're looking at the PowerPoint presentation as well as the outline. Those are due on September 20th, which actually is this Sunday. Is that going to get? Is that something that you can negotiate fairly well?
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to keep then the deadlines as they are, and we should all be on the same page with that. So, what I want to do right now, if I can, is I want to take a little bit of time to go over, I guess, some of the comments, questions, concerns you may have. Then I want to take a little bit of time to review, talk about, discuss chapters 4, 5, and 6, get your feedback on that, get your opinions on that, and then certainly answer any of the questions that we may have regarding the presentation that is due on the 6th of October. I'm sorry, the 4th of October, excuse me. So with that said, how many of you have read the chapters 4, 5, and 6? And if you have your book, you're more than welcome to refer to it. I'm going to refer to mine. What were chapters 4, 5, and 6 about?
About verbal and non-verbal communications and listening.
All right. So give me a quick synopsis. Nothing too detailed, but just a quick synopsis. We want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to participate.
Well, chapter 4 basically defines how verbal communication happens through the sound and the words and grammar, and what kind of message we get across through the verbal communication. And then the chapter 5 completes that with the non-verbal communication.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Which consists of language and body language. Excuse me?
Non-verbal cues. You're starting to be breaking up a little bit. But I think I heard what you said. Talking primarily about the notion of the non-verbals and how people can misinterpret information. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Samuel, what else did you take from the chapters?
Well, pretty much the same for chapter 4, with just like how things are said, or the different grammar, like the order things are said, plays a big role in that. And then like the gender inclusive language.
Elaborate on that, please.
How sometimes like in like political arenas especially, the speakers don't really recognize this like sexist language, even if it's subtle, and it kind of alienates some of the people that they're talking to.
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, if we could refer back to page 166 and 117, I think we have a very classic example of what you're alluding to. If we go back to that, it talks about the notion of regulating, accompanying verbal behavior, and regulating verbal behavior. And then we also talk about the notion of nonverbal behavior as well. It talks a little bit about that. We have that classic photograph with the president as well as Governor Jan Brewer. And I think what you see happening there, I wish I actually had a snapshot of that, but what you saw happening there was something that, in my honest opinion, that sends a rather interesting double message. When you take a look at that picture, what does it say to you on that chapter, in chapter 5?
It looks like a heated conversation.
Elaborate. Tell me why you say heated.
The way she's holding her finger and she's pointing at his face, and he's trying to defuse the situation, apparently.
Right. Okay, and so again, then we're looking at possibly two different dynamics. A word rather that we would have to think about is something known as intersectionality. We're thinking about the notion in regards to how you have two pieces, if you will, of, I guess, layers that have to be discussed in regards to, I guess, quasi-oppression and so forth. So let's think about this. You have an African-American man who basically is having to kowtow, if you will, to a Caucasian female. But what's interesting here is that you have a Caucasian female who is having to, or who feels the need to, wag her finger at the President of the United States. Now, what type of message, or what's the power dynamic with that when you see that? What do you think? Nani?
I'm sorry, was that for me? Sorry.
That was for anybody, but Donnie, since I saw you, I was going to pick you because you're the one I haven't picked on yet. So.
Oh no.
What I was looking at was primarily were the nonverbal cues that we see happening here, particularly along the lines of gender and race. Notice how we have an African-American man, we have a Caucasian female. And what we see here is that the Caucasian female is wagging her finger at this black man. Now, if we go ahead and provide further context, we see a governor wagging her finger at the president. What type of message, what do we see happening here? Because I think it's kind of interesting. What do you see?
Obviously, the president should be the one getting the most respect, I would think, and I mean, but we'd have to know what she's wagging her finger about, I would guess.
Right. So I think what I hear you talking about is more so of context.
Right.
So context is essential. And again, a picture, though it may be worth 1,000 words, the moving picture tells us a whole lot more, right? So let's think about this other thing we talk about with verbal and nonverbal cues. We go into chapter 5 a little deeper, and we start talking about the types of nonverbal communications. Now it talks about kinesthetics, we talk about eye behavior, I can't say it, oculosis, facial expression, and certainly we have other types of nonverbal communication when you think about it. We have vocalics, we have, I would say, facial, certainly, thank you very much. And we also have proxemics, body space or space between two people. So when you start thinking about this, talk to me about the notion of the eye behavior. What do we take when we think about the notion of eye behavior, and talk about that within the context of speech delivery or just in basic communication? Anybody, that's free.
Well, I feel that people are more honest if they're looking you straight in the face.
Right.
You know, and you're more apt to believe what they're saying.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Samuel.
No, I agree with that. That if someone's like delivering a speech and they're just reading something and looking down, it's not very believable. It doesn't sound like it's coming from them. Like the genuine feeling you get when someone just is looking at you and talking from what they know instead of what they're reading.
Right.
Is a big part in believing them.
Mo, what else would you add to this piece?
Sometimes some people want to look intimidating. They can stare you in a scary way to deliver their message.
Right. One of the things that I personally have a challenge with, and I have no problem admitting this, I have terrible wandering eyes. For some strange reason, it's very difficult for me to focus. My students even told me about this today. Dr. Robinson, you're a great professor, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, you don't look in the eyes long. You roll your eyes, you scan back and forth. And that's something that I'm having to work on. For me, I have a natural shyness. You wouldn't know it, but I do. However, hold on. JR, tone it down. One of the things that I have to negotiate is that for me, I feel better when I have a set of glasses on. If I have glasses, be them eyeglasses or sunshades, I feel better because they give me some type of a shield, for lack of a better term. I don't know why. Sigmund Freud, blame it on him. Forgive me. But some people have that. What about facial expression? Talk to me about that.
They tell you a lot about how people might feel. You know, I mean, obviously, if you're smiling, you're probably happy. That type deal.
Maybe. That could also be a double meaning, though. Someone want to tackle that? Amal, what do you say? Does someone smiling necessarily mean that they are for you or against you?
It could be toleration. They're just tolerating what you're saying. Just like a husband and a wife. He's just smiling. He's not even listening.
I'm not going there with you on that, but I understand what you're saying. So yeah, so basically, yeah, I mean, we all have various bits of parallanguage. We want to go ahead and make sure that we at least are providing some level of visual understanding. So if someone sees me or I see them face to face, I will go and say I'll nod. I'll give a certain view with my face. So when the face is, again, the face and the eyes give everything away. And so how you look and how you project yourself, whatever you choose to project, it really, again, some things you just cannot fake. In particular, certainly that of the eyes and all the, obviously, as well as the facial expressions. One of the things that we looked at, I think in the book, they talk about this notion of facial management techniques. Now, I'm not as familiar with that, but they give you some examples with that. One thing they talk about is this notion of masking, replacement of one facial expression with another considered more appropriate for a situation. For example, you smile when a friend wins a scholarship, and you don't even, even though you think you deserved it. So we have certain types of ways in which we are able to mask our emotions, and we do them, but we're just not cognizant of it. A lot of these things that we do, we pretty much have to know how to maintain a straight face. Case in point, at the risk of using 9/11, we just got out of the remembrance of that. Going back to when that initially happened, I don't know how many of you were around or cognizant or know of that. It's obviously one of the things, one of the most tragic days of American history. But we go back and take a look at the I guess the body performance, the facial performance of the president as he's reading a book during the time he's also learning that the nation is under attack. Tell me what you thought about that, or do you remember that at all?
He was, he seemed confused. He didn't know how to react to the situation. It seemed like he needed his entourage around him to tell him exactly how to react. That's how it seemed at first.
Okay. Someone else.
Wasn't he reading to like a class of children?
He was, as a matter of fact. He was reading.
So I think that plays into your reaction around kids. A lot of people try to protect kids from bad news, especially something like that. So his first reaction, if he was overwhelmed or very angry in front of the kids, I think would scare them in a way that they couldn't understand. So he has to remember he is in front of a lot of children that don't understand what's happening.
Very good. Thank you. Donnie, anything to add?
No, I think he's exactly right. I mean, obviously, the president would not, get furious right in front of the kids because he didn't want to scare them.
Right, he can't lose it. He can't lose it. And I think even in our own practice as adults, we really want to make sure that we are always able to put forth our best facial image or our best visage, for lack of a better term. Trust me, I've gone through this with my own son. We just recently came out of a situation where I was like, okay, you put me on the spot. Found out that he wasn't doing his homework on a regular basis. And, of course, I felt bad because I'm like, I'm the dad. I got to be on top of this. So in my world, I'm trying my best to be very low-key, very deliberate in my emotions because, again, the moment I allow my emotions to show is the moment then I could put forth a very negative image to the professor or the teacher or even to my son. But having said that, when I got home, my son and I had a rather deliberate, intentional conversation about performance expectations. And I think then again it goes back to how you plan to have conversations or how you plan to get points across. One of the things that we really don't think about is how we use our voice. Talk to me about the notion of the voice itself. What or how do we use our voices? Tell me how voices operate.
They get softer when you're trying to show sympathy or trying to empathize with somebody, and show them that you really care and you're nurturing them.
Mhm.
Get louder when you get frustrated or angry with them.
Absolutely. And then on top of that, we also have to know how to use the voice within the notion of maybe making a presentation or even having a conversation or being in a discursive environment with other people. Case in point, how I talk to my son, or how I talk to my son compared to how I talk to my students, two different dynamics. How I talk to my students in a classroom setting compared to how I would talk to them in my office, again, two different dynamics. In one regard, in my class, as a professor, my job is to engage my students. Albeit this type of modality of content delivery is totally different. We're literally making this up as we go along. But the one thing that I'm noticing, I think even then, with the demographic of the students that I have, I know for me personally that I want to make sure that this experience is, I shouldn't say as loose, but is not as, I would say, as demanding as, let's say, my face-to-face classes are. Part due to the fact because in my face-to-face classes, I know the student population I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with millennials who, for all intents and purposes, are like, will you please go away? I don't want to learn about theory. I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired. So what I have to do is come up with a way to, for lack of a better term, entertain them while still getting my content out to them so they can be able to absorb, retain, apply. In this type of setting, it's a little different. Due to the fact because, one, we are all coming across vis-a-vis computer screens. Two, using electronic media, be it email, social media, whatever, or even the telephone, how people are able to interpret that lends itself to a plethora of meanings. And so one of the things I want to make sure that I do, even as I continue with this, is to make sure that, that one, we create an environment that allows for a few mistakes, but also allows for everyone to have an opportunity to participate. We may not always see eye to eye, but the one thing that we don't want to do is make people feel out of their comfort zone. Why? Because we're dealing again with technology. Two, we're dealing with multiple streams of platform content delivery. Right now we're dealing screen to screen. Some days we'll do Blackboard to Blackboard or YouTube video to YouTube video. And then for me as the professor, there are some moments where I'm just completely like shocked. I'll tell you why. Because I deliver the class in this manner, when I see my students face to face, it's a completely different dynamic. It's like, oh, you really are real, and vice versa. So we want to make sure that, again, how we use our voice, what we say, certainly is one that's not going to push people away, but embrace them. Do you see how that works in other forums other than this class? Give me an example if you can.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, think about it like this. We're looking at different types of content delivery, correct?
Right.
All right, so if we're looking at different types of content delivery, if we were in a face-to-face class, how do you think our face-to-face and even spatial interactions would be different compared to how we are now?
We'll probably check each other out, measure each other up, size ourselves up to each other, that kind of thing. And I don't know. This is probably more laid back than say in person to person, say in a classroom or something. So it's kind
Tell
of
me why you say that. Tell me why you say that.
Because I'm in my dining room in my shorts and my t-shirt, just chilling, as opposed to in a desk somewhere at a table or even in your office or somebody's office.
So there's a certain formality to being face-to-face, whereas here we can relax things a little bit. I don't know, for me personally, during the summertime, yes, I may have a beer or two before class, loosen up, but at the same time, but at the same time, the main thing is that we want to make sure that everyone's comfortable, because again, how we deliver things and how we say things. We want to make sure that people, are able to embrace the content, but to also not feel as though that this is intimidating. And technology for a lot of people can be intimidating. Another thing that we have to think about too are the physical characteristics in regards to how we present ourselves visually. I had a student who sent a comment to my department chair. I'm not going to name the person because I don't know who they were. They apparently wish to be anonymous, so I'm going to maintain that anonymity. But one of the things that we talked about, or they alluded to in their diatribe, was the notion of saying, oh my God, we have to go ahead and do blah, blah, blah. He doesn't want us to show tattoos. He doesn't want us to have, body art. He doesn't want us to do this. He doesn't want... Basically saying Dr. Robinson was being Simon Legree of an online speech class. And I accept that. That's cool. But at the same time, we have to go back to the notion of the nonverbal message. When you think about some of the things that we're in, or the world that we're in right now, talk to me about even what you wear and how your appearance plays into how you are perceived.
Well, a well-dressed person commands more respect in most walks of life.
Elaborate.
If I walk into a coffee shop or in a grocery store and I have a guy in a suit, tie, that sort of deal, then when I meet him, I'm probably talking to him with maybe a little more respect than, say, a guy in a tank top and shorts. Just because maybe I feel like maybe he's a doctor, maybe he's a lawyer as opposed to a truck driver or whatever. Not saying that one's better than the other, just saying that, I guess that's our culture, our stereotype.
Our social hierarchy. We have a social hierarchy.
We do.
Right. Amal, what would you say to that?
Yeah, I was looking at page 111, and that's exactly what Donnie was talking about. There are two guys wearing different things, and automatically you give respect to the guy who's wearing the suit and instead of a guy who's wearing the casual clothes. You're gonna listen to that guy. You're gonna think you're gonna assume that he's worthy of your attention, and you want to know what he's thinking about and what he wants to say instead of the other guy.
Very good. I'll give you a very good example. I recently had to make an appearance on WRAL, and it was so funny because I got called on the carpet by, of all people, my department chair. Now, they wanted an expert on social media. I'm like, I don't consider myself an expert on anything except me being me, but I'll try to talk about certain things. So I gave what I thought was a rather cogent answer, or something that was salient to what they were looking for. But then I got a call from him. He's like, Russell. I was like, yes, what's the problem? We got to work on what you have on when you go on TV. I was like, huh? He's like, why do you have this on, and why are you, it shows that you're sweating. I was like, well, because I had to run up 3 flights of stairs, and I just got the phone call literally like around maybe an hour to prepare. I couldn't go home. I had to go shave. So the concern that they had, to some degree, was legitimate. Due to the fact because you're representing the school and you're coming across as a quote expert. So we want our people to look a certain way. Going back to what Donnie pointed out to, the notion of the visual image, how we make that connection with the visual image. If we see someone who looks a certain way, then yes, they will command a certain, I shouldn't say level of respect, but we look at them in a certain way compared to, let's say, otherwise. And again, even along the lines of race, gender, and class, we have to negotiate that too. In many cases, again, putting myself out there, because I've lived the experience where I can talk about it as an authority. One of the things that I've had to do back in the early 21st century, the early 2000s, I was actually looking for another job at the university. And it was very weird because for some reason I was able to ace a telephone interview. But then when they saw me get off the plane, it was completely different. Now, this was 2000, 2001, 1999. I had a head full of dreadlocks. Right now I'm a little alopecia challenged, but we won't talk about that. But I had a head full of locks, and I had a name that was really, again, William Russell Robinson. Okay. Well, the name has no ethnic tone to it. And so when you think about that, again, the nonverbal representation, and then when you hear someone on the phone and how they're able to speak, not necessarily sound black or sound white, but more so how they're able to use the language of power, how they're able to use the language of the jargon that is associated with the profession. Automatically, I was getting on a plane going to, of all places, Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Now, for the record, there are not that many black people in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So when you can imagine when I got off the plane and I had my head full of locks and I had on my two-piece double-breasted blue suit and my sunglasses and a goatee, they were like, "Where is Dr. Robinson?" They didn't know who the hell or where the hell Dr. Robinson was. And then I was like, "Oh, I'm right here." And so I was like, wow. So basically, people, when you say and how you present yourself, people make value judgments. And sometimes the value judgment is made before they even see you, going back to the About Me assignment that I had people do. I had some people who were very standoffish. They were like, "Why does Dr. Robinson want us to have a, quote, professional photograph? Why does Dr. Robinson want us to have a certain look? Particularly, why do we have to go in and cover our tats? Why do we have to do this?" Well, again, going back to how people make judgments against other folks, we unfortunately live in that world where people do or have made assessments just off of the first 5 seconds or the first bit of information. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I definitely agree. I think it's unfortunate, but I agree.
Okay. Samuel, what do you say to that?
I agree with that, but I kind of think, excuse me, the times are changing where younger people, instead of like respecting more the person in the suit, it's more the person who's dressed like them. So if you have tattoos and someone else has tattoos, you don't look down on that person for that because they're not in a suit. You identify with them. And I think a lot of younger, like entrepreneurs or business owners, instead of going for that very business professional person, go for the more relatable person to them personally. And so I think that is coming around now where it hasn't been before. It's been predominantly you need to be the most professional, the most like not personalized version of yourself. And then like I work for a hotel downtown where it's a museum hotel, like art museum, 21st century art.
I've heard of that. That's a very nice, that's a brand new hotel, right?
Yeah, and something they really value is if you have tattoos and you have crazy hair, like we don't have uniforms because they want you to express yourself and express your art. Where if you walk into the Marriott, that is not allowed. Everyone has the same uniform, same name tag, no tattoos shown, very like neutral hairstyles.
Right.
But this company that I work for, if you are that most business professional, you're not going to get the job because that's what they're looking for. And I think that's something that's new to, you know, businesses now and what's happening.
Well, I think also when you have that, when you mention that, I think in and of itself, I think that too could be new geographically to North Carolina. If you think about where we are politically, we traditionally have been, well, at least for the past 2 cycles, we have been a red state. So by that, politically, we've been somewhat conservative. You got to also realize that North Carolina has been the, quote, Bible Belt. So when you think about that, there are some rather staunch, in my honest opinion, which I do not agree to or subscribe to, staunch conservative Christian values. So when you think about that, those same values, unfortunately, can, as you point out, bleed into various cultural industries, certainly within the corporatized world. However, as you've alluded to, with this new hotel that we have in downtown Durham, they are seeking to reinvent, I guess, the notion of hospitality management and certainly trying to attract a certain audience or clientele. And I applaud them for that because I believe that what we have to do now is become to be more an inclusive society. Yeah. And so as we're moving towards that, I think part of that deals with the notion of, again, the nonverbal representation. there was something that recently took place in the news. Anybody want to give me a crack at what you think I'm going to talk about? Okay, crickets. So, it's going to sound like I'm going off on a tangent, but please bear with me because I think it makes sense. Anybody familiar with what recently took place in Texas, Irvine, Texas? Young boy named Ahmad Muhammad.
I just
yeah.
read about it this afternoon, actually.
All right, tell me about what you know about it. Talk to me about it.
I just read like a little summary, and I heard him talking and announcing that, and I saw all the offers that he got from Apple and Facebook and the invitation to the White House, and he's a little boy who invented the clock, I think, and then he took it to school
Well, he
for a
didn't
show
invent
or
the clock,
something.
he made a homemade clock, right. He made a homemade clock, and unfortunately what wound up happening, because of Islamophobia, people decided that he needs to be placed in police custody and then suspended from school. Now, going back to the notion of nonverbals and now even employing the notion, if you will, of biases, these same biases, unfortunately, could have had an adverse impact upon this young man's life circumstances, certainly life chances. But again, when we saw just how overtly racist those policies were, based again because of his skin tone, based also because of what he may have looked like, again, you have some people, in my honest opinion, who really operate or played right into what we call moral panics, and because of that, that then bled right into, in my honest opinion, bled into a lot of stereotypes in which we have to deal with. And again, Sam, I think what you point to as well is the notion that we have to begin to move away. We have to begin to move away from these, I guess, hyper-conservative, hyper-corporatized models of what is a quote-unquote acceptable or even normal in our workplace and our school. Would you guys agree or disagree with that?
I definitely agree with that. What happened to the young boy, especially like even his name plays into it. Isn't his name like Ahmed Muhammad?
I believe so.
Or something.
Ahmed Muhammad.
I think if this would have happened, 10, 20 years ago, there wouldn't have been this support of him and this invitation to the White House and all these deals to sign on. I think it would have been more of the majority that he was in the wrong for what he did, even though he did something amazing and turned it into his teacher. He didn't hide it or do anything sketchy with it. He did what you should do with a project.
Right. Good points. Anyone else before we move on to the last part of what we talked about? So
I just wanted to talk about the 5 second that we were talking about, the 5 second rule.
Tell me
about impression, first impression.
Yes, tell me about that.
I just recall the incident of, it's not incident, but something happened a long time ago about Susan Boyle when she was in Britain's Got Talent.
Ah, yes, Susan Boyle. They made these judgments about her because how she looked.
Yeah, and how Simon made fun of her, and then at the end he had to give her a stand-in ovation just because he was amazed. And you can tell that he was feeling guilty about how he judged her before he saw what she was capable of.
True, and I think that's the world. Unfortunately, we make these high-powered value assessments on people, and as we do that, we really don't get an opportunity to know one another. One of the things that I said, for those who care to know anything about me, I'm an avid user of social media. I'm the first one to say yes. I will go to Instagram, and I will make my own personal memes about life. I think I'm slowly becoming a curmudgeon at the age of 45. I need to fix. But one of the things that I've noticed with the millennial culture, and I could be dead wrong, but one of the observations I've made is that I think in many cases we have a culture that is quick to friend someone and then quick to not know how to be sociable and quick to go ahead and fight. And my main concern, I made a little meme with the Batman smacking Robin. I have to share it with you. But Robin says, and we know Robin is younger between the two of them. Robin says, I'm going to change the game. And of course, Batman smacks him. Psh, how are you going to change the game when you haven't even read the damn book? So, and I think that's one of the things that we have to start thinking more so about. We cannot continue to make snap value judgments on people, let alone other circumstances, because then we alienate ourselves from the diverse contributions they can make to our society. I know that sounded very much like I was a professor. Forgive me. That's not how I sound. But yes. So let's move on to the last part of this. Do we need to talk anything else about Chapter 5, or are we good with Chapter 5?
I think we're good.
Okay.
All right. So let's go into then the notion of listening, interpretation of information. Talk to me about what you took from that chapter.
I think I said something in my summary on YouTube about the movie White Men Can't Jump when they're riding in the car, and Sydney tells Billy, hey, you're listening, or you're hearing Jimmy, but you're not really listening to what Jimmy, to Jimi Hendrix. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Okay. So what exactly did he mean? Because some of us may not have seen that movie in a long time.
Okay, basically he meant that he could hear Jimi Hendrix playing the guitar, but he couldn't really, feel what the music was about and feel why Jimmy was playing the way he was playing.
Okay, I like that. Someone else give you another example. Is this where I find crickets and bring them up as a sound effect? All right, so let me give you an example. So when we think about the notion of, I think, if any of you have ever seen the show The Wire, one of the comments that they commonly, one of the lines they used was, "Do you feel me?" And without thinking about it in a tactile way, "Do you feel me?" was another way to say, "Do you understand me? Is this clear?" And so it goes right back to what you said earlier, Donnie, in the notion of you can hear him, but you don't feel Jimmy. And I think we have to start thinking about the notion then, when we start talking about the notion of listening, we have the hearing phase. My son will hear me. "Russell, I need you to clean up the room." "Okay, Dad, okay." 10 minutes later, "Russell, I need you to go clean the room." "Okay, Dad, okay. Then finally, Dad will get fed up. "Dude, I need you to go clean that room right now, or I'm taking..." Oh! Suddenly he heard me. Consequence. If you have children, you trust me, you understand. So, I did not understand this until I had my own child. Now I understand. So there's this notion of where we will feign listening to get through a situation, but then it takes that experience to be like, "Oh my God, you were serious." Yeah, I'm dead serious. As professors, we go through that quite a lot. Not saying anyone in this class has done it. Okay, I'm not going to say anyone in this class has done it. I'm trying to roll my eyes up, being comical about it. But we have had it happen. So I can say so many times that I need you to do X, Y, Z this way. I need you to go ahead and listen to or follow up and watch the Google Hangouts or watch the meetings. Okay. I need you to go ahead and look at the video on how to do blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. All of a sudden, when it's time to look at the grade, you didn't follow the instructions. "Well, you didn't say that." Exactly, that's exactly what I said, but you wanted to get through it. So I think we have to also talk about the notion of effective listening with the notion of, thinking, being active. And sometimes we don't deal with the active listening phase. One of the things that the chapter talks about, I think, I'm not going to go completely all into it, but they go into these figures we have on 6.3, 6.4, and we actually look at all of that and how we all relate to the actual interpretation phase. Talk to me about the notion of taking in information. How does that work? What do we mean when we talk about the interpretation stage? 146.
I don't have my book right in front of me, but to interpret it, I mean, that it's each person to his own, probably. Like Sam may interpret what you say in a total different way than the way I do it. You know,
Okay.
I mean, I'm older and he's younger, and we're gonna look at things two totally different ways a lot of times. So a mom may be, the same way. She may take it a total different way than either Sam or I do. So.
Right, right. And I think the other piece too, again, as you say, generationally, I think also with the experience levels we all bring to various conversations. One of the things, again, I think with social media, and I will say this personally, and I have no problem saying, I think social media has made us antisocial. We've forgotten how to be communicative on the peer-to-peer, face-to-face relationship. Why? I think because the technology has made it too easy for us to say we're going to be friends or that we're going to unfriend each other. I'm like, wow, that's different. And I think we don't take time to interpret the messages that we get. We don't evaluate. And I guess that's one of the questions I would ask. Why do you think that we have gone away from the notion of being rather critical of what we consume as information?
I think part of that is the instant gratification that we, as a society, crave. Everything has to be right now, right now. So if I can sit at home and communicate with 10 of my friends at one time, or I can go have lunch with one, I get more done, hypothetically, if you just talk to the 10 people on your phone by texting or emailing or on Facebook or something, where you can communicate with hundreds of people all at once. Okay. Instead of just one face-to-face. I think it's more of it gets the point across, or if you have a group of friends, to text the group instead of even calling each person individually. Mm-hmm. It takes away that level of personal connection that you don't even speak, because it's easier to text all 10 of you than to call each person or meet up with each person to relay information.
Okay. Well, what would you say to that?
I have an example. My son used a lot of texting everywhere, Snapchat, Kick, and
oh my God,
instant messages. And he knows I check his messages, so there's no secrets there. But I find out that he's a totally different personality through his messages than he is as a person, as I see him at home.
If
he's very outgoing.
You can tell us more about it without outing him. Let us know what you give us some examples.
He's very funny. He's very outgoing through his messages. He's the funniest in the whole group.
Okay.
And when he's funny at home, but when he's put in other situations, he's not really outgoing. But through the messages in social media, he's really funny, and he says what's in his mind, and it's like two different personalities.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think that's a fair assessment. One of the things is that you have a lot of people. One of the terms they use is keyboard warriors. So out of nowhere, it's like Popeye. They take a can of spinach, you get behind a keyboard, and they are invincible. Compared to when you have to see them face to face, and all of a sudden they're like, what had happened was. And so I remember I was working at the School of Science and Math, and this happened. I remember when we had an ice storm back in 2002, and the power was out for like 3 or 4 days. Students who have been communicating vis-a-vis email suddenly had to get out of their rooms and talk to people. And it was like, wow, people, I got to talk to you? It was like it threw them. It really threw them. So I think in some regards, technology has worked against us in the sense that we do not know how to listen anymore effectively. One of the things that we have to start thinking about, too, is in regards to, did our message get out effectively, particularly when you start making your presentations. One point exactly is this. How many of you have flown on a plane? We all have flown on a plane once, twice, right?
All the time.
Okay. Right. So the one thing that I do not, my pet peeve is when I will cut off my phone, I will stop doing it, because I want to listen to those in-flight instructions, right? In the event the aircraft takes on water, blah, 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 blah. And so the one thing that is that I get annoyed personally when I get on those planes and I don't see people taking those things seriously, because we don't want it to happen, but God forbid, it could happen. And the question now comes down to the level of importance that we assign to what we take in. And I think that's something we have to begin to think about too, just as an audience. Your role as the audience really is kind of crucial. I say that because when you start delivering your presentations to other members of the class, what you're going to be evaluating your speaker on is their ability to provide good, credible information. And part of that comes to how you're able to listen to them and digest it. Sometimes you'll have to deal with what's called noise, and I don't mean just outside noise. You'll have to deal with other types of noise. For example, you have a speaker who is making a presentation, but they're not making a presentation and I would say presentation attire. Or they're making a presentation and their graphics don't jive with their actual presentation. Case in point. We had some students a few years ago decide that we were going to do a demonstration speech on how to shoot a basketball. Fair enough, no problem. Tell me how you're going to receive a demonstration speech with a PowerPoint presentation of that student delivering or sharing with you how to shoot a basketball in their dorm room.
Obviously, you can't shoot it in the dorm room. So well, I mean, when I think of shooting basketball, I'm thinking I'm on a 10-foot hoop and I'm shooting jumpers, as opposed to sitting or standing in a dorm room that's got an 8-foot ceiling or whatever, and I'm trying to throw, I don't know, maybe a mini ball and a mini hoop or a paper and trash can. I don't know.
Right, and that's a type of noise we have to think about. What's another type of noise we have to think about? Amal? If we're dealing with the ability to take in information, what about their ability to language barrier? If they're not able to articulate what they say completely or thoroughly, would that be a barrier to you being able to listen to them effectively?
I can talk about that.
Okay, talk about it.
I had to deal with that for a long time, at least 10 years before I picked up the language. So I had to take in the message and then translate it in my head in Arabic, and I understand it, and then I think about it in Arabic, and then I translate it in English, and then I say it. And everything get lost in translation. So yeah, I had close experience with that.
Right, but here's the thing that I think that a lot of people don't take into account. The fact that you're having to shift language and meaning on the fly. So that too, in and of itself, in my opinion, represents multiple intelligences. It also represents your ability to have to be able to listen on two different planes, if you will. You have to be able to encode the language in your native tongue, but also translate it into one that you can then go back and re-encode for feedback, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. See? Sam, what about you? Samuel?
To agree with that or a different?
Give me a different perspective.
I think the tone and like the confidence of how someone, especially when you do like a demonstration video, if the person giving a demonstration video does not sound confident in what they're demonstrating, like why should I as a listener hear you out if you don't know, if we're on the same level of the knowledge of what you're demonstrating?
Okay.
Like you're talking to a basketball coach and they're in their gym and they're telling you how to shoot a basket. You're gonna listen to what they have to say as opposed to someone in their dorm room who, as far as you know, has never played basketball.
Right, and I think that goes back to someone's credibility, their ability to also be knowledgeable about the topic they're talking about. For example, if you have looked at the demonstration speeches that I've given or the demonstration tutorials that I'm given in regards to powerlifting, and again, if you see me face to face, I look like a 90-pound weakling, trust me. But when you take a look at the idea when I'm going through the presentation, you wouldn't know that because I use, first of all, experience. I use the technical language. I also provide examples. I also provide myself doing it. So I think with that, it lends itself more to the notion of speaker credibility. And then I think in and of itself adds to the ability for someone to listen to me, quote unquote, as an authority, though I'm not a professional or even semi-professional powerlifter. At least I offer that level of experience because I've gone through it, I've done it. Same thing, I think, in any of the presentations that you would demonstrate, meaning, let's say, Samuel, if you were to talk about the hospitality industry, or Amal, if you were talking about your experiences, as a woman of Arabic language, or let's say, Donnie, if you were to talk about your experiences, whatever it is you bring to the table. So I think it's about the level of experience and the comfort level that people bring. So it really is about, one's social positionality, if you will. I know it sounds like a whole bunch of stuff, but please allow me. Okay. Do we have any comments or questions in regards to what we talked about this evening, going over chapters 4, 5, and 6?
I have a question about the PowerPoints. What should we include in the PowerPoints as far as images and material?
Very good question. Well, first, do you know what you're going to do?
Watch the tutorials.
What are you going to do your presentation on? That's the first thing I would say. What are you going to do the presentation on?
Shoot a basketball, I guess.
Cool. So if you're going to do a presentation on how to shoot, okay, so if you're going to do a presentation on how to shoot a basketball, first you need to have someone filming you shooting a basketball. The other thing you need to make sure that you're also doing is you have to pay attention to detail. You need to have good photographs. Photographs are important. And you can't have any more than 15 words per slide. You shouldn't have any more than 10 words per slide. 10 slides per presentation. Your presentation should include some type of video in the presentation, and it should be able to play. What I will do is I will also, in addition to the tutorials that I have available, I will also go ahead and share with you a person's presentation they made, or a few presentations they made, so you can actually see what the finished product. And again, for those who, we do not need to have any audience members for this. No audience members are needed for this. But I wasn't talking about you, since you laughed.
Well, I did do that, yes. But I redid it. Thank you.
No harm, no foul. No harm, no foul. So, yes. So the main thing is that make sure that you follow the tutorials. The other thing I would recommend you do, too, this is going to sound crazy. Work together. Everyone should try to work with each other, and I say that because that will help you all to really negotiate and navigate the technology. When I did my presentations, and I can do it if I have to again, what I would use, if you have it available, use your camera phone. Use your camera phone to actually demonstrate, show you doing it. And then you break down the actual process of you doing it from start to finish. That's what I had to do.
I think that's a good explanation. And really, Amal, I learned a lot from those tutorials. I mean, like I told Dr. Russell before kind of everybody got here, I kind of did a split screen on my computer. And so I had the tutorial on one side and my PowerPoint on the other.
That helped you? It really helped you?
I think it did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no real experience at doing that kind of thing. Like I said, my kids are way better at that than I am. So. Okay, cool. I love hearing that type of feedback. I love hearing that. Daniel, what are you doing your presentation on?
I think I'm gonna go with how to cook some grilled cheese sticks.
Okay, so you know that you're flirting with an F already, right?
Yes.
What's the assignment?
What?
What's the assignment?
The demonstration?
Uh-huh. What do you have to demonstrate?
How to do something, right?
Oh.
Is that the one we're demonstrating?
Donnie, you want to tell him?
A physical activity.
A fitness activity.
Yeah.
Okay. I can do that.
Okay. Yeah. Something that yeah, grilled cheese. I'm glad you told me you were going to do a grilled cheese, so I could stop you before you made that grilled cheese. But yeah, fitness activity, nothing too major, something that that you are familiar with. If you know how to shoot a basketball, show me how to shoot a basketball. If you know how to shoot archery, show me how to shoot archery. Something where you feel comfortable that you can do. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It can be something as simple as saying power walking, but something where you're demonstrating a fitness activity. And the reason I say I want people to do that is because I know that some people will say, I'm going to make a presentation on how to make Kool-Aid. Wow. Or I'm going to make a presentation on how to thread an eye of a needle. What I want to see something is really where you're involving the motor kinesthetic faculties, if you will, of this exercise. We have plenty more time. We have a lot more time to get the other stuff done. But this, again, is a fun assignment. I don't want people to take it too seriously, but have some fun with it. If you can swim, show us how to do a swim. Again, the goal for me is to make sure that people, get to where we know where they are and help them become better. That's my main thing. Not to go ahead and try to embarrass anyone, but just really to go ahead and to get people to, one, know how to use PowerPoint effectively, because that's important. And what I will do, too, is I will actually provide some slides in here, probably between now and Sunday, in regards to how to, the